Let's move on though from Mike Tomlin. I just wanted to talk about the improbability of what Indiana has been this year. This is a team that throughout my entire lifetime has not been relevant. They weren't relevant in the 90s during my dad's lifetime or 80s. They weren't relevant in the 60s when my grandpa. And the last time they were relevant, my great grandpa probably didn't care as much because he was holding a rifle in the Marshall Islands. So in 1949, 1945, when Indiana went to the Rose Bowl, nobody cared. So in my opinion, they've never been relevant. And it's just so impressive to see what Curg Cignetti's done. There's a book called Zero to One. It's Peter Thiel writes it, and the whole point is like to go to 1 to 2 is building upon something that already exists. Going from 0 to 1 is creating something that had never before been seen. And so you've talked about, we've talked about you know, what are some other good coaching jobs that have been done, right? You've Cristobal at Miami. He resurrected a program that had once been really good, right? So there'd been precedent for Miami being really good, and he brought them back. Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. He brought them back from a once really good program. That's all 1 to 2. You would consider that. Dabo brought back. Thank you, Luke. Dabo, you brought back Clemson that historically had been good and was a storied program, and you brought him back, right? Now, like there's a couple programs where that's really the 0 to 1s are the really special coaching jobs. So the only one I could think of, and I just thought of it, is Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech. I don't know if there was I my history is lesson isn't great. I don't know how they were in the 80s, but that seems like a guy that kind of like brought Blacksburg, just created something in a thin air in Blacksburg. That's the same thing in to a bigger degree what Cignetti's done at Indiana. He's went from 0 to 1 and he's awoken a sleeping giant. This is they have Indiana has the largest alumni base in all of America, which is insane. They pack these stadiums out. They run Oregon fans and Alabama fans out of the building. Two like nationally historic programs cannot compete with Indiana fans in terms of getting butts in seats. Um, and some people might say like this is magic. Like it's not magic. This guy's a scientist, and this guy's just a really good football coach. And I just think it's so unprecedented to see what Indiana's done. And then they got the quarterback this year. Like last year, O'Rourke was fine, serviceable to get this program moving in the right direction, and then they finally got the quarterback. And now it's so dangerous. And I think Indiana is going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next 10 years, as long as Siggs wants to be there. They're going to lose their coordinators. Bryant Haynes and Shanahan are going to get hired at some point. Doesn't matter. I think they're like the new Penn State. Like they will be in it perennially. What say you?
I think I wish I had something unique or creative I could say to put the greatness of Indiana in perspective, but I think basically everything that could be said has already been said. And I mean, you just said it all. It's truly unprecedented. And I think I was thinking about this. Oregon has had a similar rise, like you were saying, pretty meteoric in the sense that they weren't considered a national powerhouse at all before around 20-ish years ago when they started to invest more money in football, when Chip Kelly got there, and they really started winning a lot of football games there and became that national brand and nationally recognized successful team. And they still haven't reached the pinnacle. They still have not won a national championship, despite them being perennially contending for the last 20 years. They still haven't reached the mountaintop. And Indiana was nowhere close to the level that Oregon has been at the last 20 years. And it only took 2 years for Indiana to be in the position that Oregon has been in one time. But let's be honest, they weren't going to win that national championship game against Auburn. And Indiana is likely going to beat Miami, and they're likely going to be national champions in Curt Cignetti's second year. And I think it's just fitting to compare those two programs. And I'm not knocking Oregon at all by any stretch of the imagination. And they won 13 games this year. That's really, really hard to do, and it's not appreciated enough because we live in a culture and society and the way college football is talked about in the media. It's all about the ring. If you don't win a national championship, then the season was a failure. And I'm not gonna I don't buy into that as much, and I'll always appreciate even just a 9-win season. But winning 13 games is truly special, and there's a lot of programs in America that never even sniffed that. They've never even won 11 games in a year. So Oregon's season was successful by any stretch of the imagination, other than the fact that they got destroyed by a buzzsaw. And it's just like I said, it's fitting that this is the program they played, and this is the team that they dismantled in this game to put themselves in the position to make the history that I think they're going to. And it's crazy. They've flown past the history of so many storage programs that even in the last decade or two have invested so much money into football to be successful and put themselves in position to compete for national championships every year that can't do it. Like Penn State cannot.
Like Tennessee and
Yes, Tennessee,
Florida at post Urban
Florida.
Meyer.
Yes, Penn State. All of these teams that have for so long been considered at the top of the sport and put so much money into football still have not been able to reach that point in 2 decades, for some 3 decades. And Indiana's done it in 2 years. And that's not to say they haven't been spending money on football for a long time. Obviously, any Power Five, Power Four program is going to be doing that. But look at their roster. They have no 5 stars on their roster. I think I saw they have like seven 4 stars. And we've talked about the talent composite all year. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters for this team because we talked about alignment with Mike Tomlin. They're so aligned in that building, and they are all so bought in on the fact that they can beat anyone and can win a national championship. And we've talked about the special dynamic that having Fernando Mendoza as your QB and leading the culture from a player standpoint, and having Curg Cignetti as your coach and leading the program as a whole, that's a deadly combination. And you're seeing that in color. And I don't think it's too early to say that this is one of the greatest college football teams ever. Because if they are able to pull this off on Monday night, they absolutely are. It's impossible. It's damn near. Well, it's not impossible because I think they're going to do it, but it's damn near impossible to go undefeated in this era of college football with the rising level of parity in programs that are now all able to pay players, and there's not as many distinct advantages as there has been in the past.
Mhm.
And it's going to be a lot harder to do that in the years to come. And I think we're in a specific era right now where going undefeated is truly special, and we're never going to see it to the level that we have in the past. And I think this team's going to be an outlier in the sense that they're about to cap off a 16-0 season. And how could you not consider them one of the best ever with what they've been able to do, especially when considering the talent level of those teams. They don't have, is there a first round pick on that team? Maybe Surratt. Oh, other than their quarterback. But like outside of that, is there a first round pick?
I doubt Surratt goes in the first round.
Yeah. And like maybe, I don't know if there's a guy on defense. Obviously, Mendoza is probably going to be the first pick, and that's very significant. But a quarterback is not winning football games single handedly. And
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any
I
other
think
first round
I
draft picks on
wonder
this
if they
team.
yeah, it's just a bunch of day 2, day 3 guys that just play
when you
really
put
hard.
that when you put that into the context of teams from recent that we've talked about as some of the best ever, like 2020 Alabama and 2019 LSU, those teams all were littered with first round picks.
Mhm.
Everyone knows
Jamar,
Justin Jefferson, Jamar
Jefferson,
Chase, and Joe Burrow.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Even Edwards-Helaire. They had dudes on defense.
Who was that edge who
They had Patrick Queen
yeah, Pac was he?
and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And then who was that? There was an edge 18 Derek Stingley Jr. at corner. It was a
yeah,
freshman, which he was a first round pick for the Texans. We saw it last night. He was a third overall pick. So I mean, dude, littered with talent.
littered with talent. 2020 Bama, same thing. First, Mac Jones,
Najee,
first and
Mack,
foremost. Yeah.
Devontae
Their
Smith.
their offensive line, I distinctly remember this. Their offensive line was well, two of these guys have not had good NFL careers, but they were still first rounders. Evan Neal, Alex Leatherwood, Landon Dickerson, and I'm blanking on the other two, but the point is they're all first round picks on their O
Was it
line. They're
Booker?
no, Booker
No,
didn't
he was
start yet.
later.
This is 2020, yeah.
Yeah.
But point being, unbelievable offensive line, and they could do everything. And
Mhm.
the defense, you don't even have to get into that, but I mean, all of talent all over the place. I know Will Anderson was a true freshman on that team. They had Pat Surtain. We didn't even talk about the receiving core, but point being, so much first round talent on those two teams in particular that we talk about as one of the best ever. And this team isn't going to stack up to that degree, but I think the fact that that's the case
They're so
makes it
balanced.
even,
The way they
yeah,
win football games, like the Penn State game, they need a drive late. They make the play. Omar Cooper Jr., like in the legendary play. Like the Iowa game came down to a drive they needed, and they got it. They won a game scoring 13 and holding Ohio State to 10. They hung 55 on Oregon. Like they just win games in a multitude of ways. They're just so balanced. And I